Good evening and welcome to our members and guests. My name is Emma Davidson and I'm the president of the Oxford and Cambridge Society in Malaysia. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm so delighted that this evening we're going to be introducing to you some bright young Malaysians who are the winners of the second academic exploration competition. First, we're going to meet the Humanities winners and then we will meet the STEM winners. So when the pandemic hit and it became clear that students would be locked in houses away from education and also educational opportunities to explore beyond their syllabuses, the Oxbridge Exco quickly came up with the idea of an academic exploration competition to allow Malaysian students to spread their scholarly wings and, importantly, in a world of very competitive university applications, to show that they had done so. That's hardly surprising. This evening I was counting, of the 16 members on our Exco, 10 of them all work in education or predominantly in education. The other 6 work occasionally in education, lecturing, for example, at the Judd School in Cambridge. And all of the 16 members of our Exco get roped in to help on whatever educational outreach projects we are working on at the moment, usually at Someway or KTJ. And our members are also very supportive of our academic outreach projects and educational projects. So I'm going to hijack this evening a little bit just to say thank you very much to all of our Exco members and to all of our normal members for helping so much with all of the projects that we do and for helping with Malaysian education. So for the academic exploration competition, I would especially like to thank our members who judged it. I know from Yen and Patrick that they spent a huge amount of time going through all the entries, carefully considering them multiple times. They write a report on each one and they weigh up the excellent aspects of each one that they want to highlight. And then, of course, they all come to a consensus on which is the winning one. So thank you to Sean Tan, Chwazi Meng, Tamara Lim, Professor Hugh Gill, James Ganendran, Celine Wan, Sriyani De Silva, Umadevi Palasamy, Lee Chen Mei, Chako Badaketh, Faisal Arif, can't believe I said that wrong, Faisal Arif, Professor Valerie Ross, Hema Lechamani, Liana Khairuddin, and Nicoletta Wong. And special thanks go to Patrick Helson for coordinating this competition and for the Humanities category, and to Yen Chua for overseeing the STEM competition. So let's meet the judges and the winners. First, I'll tell you a little bit about Patrick. So Patrick is the director of Swordbridge Test Prep, which runs programs to help students prepare for university entrance tests like the SAT, the Law National Aptitude Test, and the Thinking Skills Assessment. He founded the company 10 years ago, moving to the education sector after 23 years working in finance and private equity. He originally graduated from Gomble and Keyes College in Cambridge with a degree in law. He holds a master's degree in economics from Imperial College London and a master's degree in education, specializing in online and distance learning. That's very useful these days. He's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, and he sits on the executive committee of the Oxford and Cambridge Society in Malaysia. He's very interested in the challenges of extending educational opportunities, and he's worked in schools in remote parts of Papua New Guinea, township schools in Johannesburg, South Africa, and schools for urban poor in Hyderabad, India. And here in Malaysia, his outreach work is supporting a UNHCR Chin refugee school, and he's done that for 9 years now. Yen Chua holds a PhD in geotechnical engineering from the University of Cambridge. She has experience in the corporate as well as business sector. Following the completion of her doctoral thesis, she worked in the construction and development industries. Subsequently, she joined the corporate sector where she worked as a consultant for a boutique strategy firm in Kuala Lumpur. And later, she moved to London to take on a role as a consultant for M&A deals, where she analysed different sectors across industries for private equity clients. After moving back to Kuala Lumpur, Yen got involved in a health therapy retail business where she's still serving as a director. In July 2014, Yen co-founded Science Bridge Academy, a startup focusing on delivering innovative, hands-on science learning programs for primary and secondary students. At ScienceBridge Academy, she's responsible for training, business development, as well as customer relationships, and we use ScienceBridge as well. Okay, so welcome to Patrick, and he's going to be leading off with the humanities. So Patrick, thank you for pulling this whole competition together. Was it difficult to do in the first year?
Yeah, of course. Yes, no, it was a bit of a challenge, but I think we got used to it, and we've run it 2 years now, and hopefully a little bit smoother. But what we're hoping we'll get tonight is some advice and some feedback that if we choose to run it again next year, we can use next year.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love more people to enter. We have a lot of people entering. Well, I'm not sure the judges want thousands of entries because it takes such a long time to judge, but we certainly would like more entries. All right, so let's meet the winners of the humanities. So let's bring in Walter and Lucas. Okay, bye guys.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Emma. Good evening, everybody. Yes, as Emma said, I'm Patrick. And the reason we're having this webinar tonight, there's 2 reasons. So firstly, we want to celebrate the winners' achievements, and you're going to meet the winners shortly. Secondly, we're hoping that by hearing from this year's winners, we can record their comments and use this to encourage next year's students if we run the competition again. So let me give you a quick overview of the competition. As I just said, this was the 2nd year we've run it. We started it during the first lockdown. We wanted to give the students who were under lockdown, we wanted to give them an opportunity to do some additional academic exploration and analysis as a break from being stuck under lockdown. And really, we wanted to encourage their curiosity and their creative thinking. In this 2nd year, we framed the topic to look forward to the future. We'd all decided we were a bit tired of being in the pandemic, and we just wanted to look what will happen as we emerge. And hopefully, touch wood, perhaps we are starting to see the glimmers of emerging. So the idea of this year's competition was to reflect on the opportunities that will arise from this recovery phase of the pandemic. The competition was divided into 2 strands. The first strand was a STEM computer science strand, and Yen ran that from the Exco, and we're going to be looking at that part of the competition just a little bit later. On our side, starting, we're looking at the humanities strand. So I coordinated this part, and the task here was to write an essay of 1,500 words, and the topic was, to what extent can the opportunity gap that was widened by COVID-19 be reduced? And we encourage students to choose any angle they wanted to explore. It could be economics, it could be law, politics, philosophy, anything really on the humanities side. We had 14 entries from a selection of schools, mostly KL-based schools. And I'm very pleased to say tonight we're joined by 2 of the winners. Walter, say hello, Walter. Just say a wave.
Hi, everyone.
And Lucas.
Hi, guys.
So we'll talk in a little bit more detail about what you both wrote in just a minute. But first, let's just do some introductions. Lucas, why don't you start? Just give a quick run through of what your school is, what your A-levels are, and maybe just tell us something else about what you do outside of schoolwork, in terms of pastimes or hobbies.
Yeah, so I go to college Tuanku Jaffa. I'm in my 2nd year of A-levels. I've just started. I'm a humanities student, as why I've chose to do the humanities competition. So I take history, English literature, economics, and math. Outside of school, I'd say I quite enjoy my sports, football especially. And I'm also an avid photographer and debater. But sadly, due to COVID, speaking of COVID, not much photography has been going on, so that's a little bit of a shame.
Yeah, no, it's very frustrating, I'm sure. But no, thanks very much, Lucas. And Walter, same questions for you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Walter, and I'm a central bank scholar, so a scholar of the BNM. And I'm currently studying at KTJ as well, doing my 2nd year of A-level. I'm studying double maths, economics, and history. I'm looking to study economics in the UK. And aside from academics and like life, I like to watch television, Netflix. I I enjoy anime a lot. Yeah.
You enjoy anime a lot. Okay. I just rewatched Spirited Away for the first time last week. Have you watched that? Are you a fan of?
Yeah, the Ghibli films are classic.
Yeah, absolutely classic. Well, I might ask you a bit about Netflix later, Walter. That could be relevant to many students because I think a lot of us watch too much Netflix. That's great. So look, let's hear a little bit more about both of your essays. Now, so we received, just so you know, ooh, looks like we've lost Walter. Oh, we're going to talk to Lucas first. All right. Just so everyone knows, we get essays. The judges, we see them anonymously. We don't know who wrote them. We don't know which school the people came from. And Walter's essay was positioned as our 6th essay, and Lucas's essay was positioned as our 14th essay. And yet I gather now that we meet the winners, the both of you are actually not only both at KTJ, but you're both in the same house at KTJ. Is that right? And one of you is the house captain and one of you is the vice captain. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So I don't know what the chances are of that, but clearly there was a style. There's a style in your house of writing that impressed the judges. So well done. Okay, let's talk to Lucas a bit more first. Lucas, you wrote about the impact of the pandemic on single parent families. How this could create pressure, could lead to unemployment, pressure on poverty increasing, crime increasing, and this kind of thing. And we were really impressed that you offered some very practical solutions around this problem. What made you enter the competition in the first place? What inspired you to enter?
I guess it would be untrue of me not to say that there was a bit of my competitive aspect of me that wanted to apply. So definitely with my university applications coming up, I felt like to try my hand at something related to the course I want to study in later on would be good for me. At the same time, I think found the essay topic relevant and quite interesting, and I thought, would be good to try it out just for fun.
You may have said earlier, and I may have missed it. What are you planning to study later?
I'm planning to study law. Yeah.
Okay. And also in the UK, is that your plan or somewhere else?
I'll be applying to the UK and Australia, so we'll see how that goes.
Sure. Well, very competitive. Let's talk for a moment to Walter. Let's keep them both on and ask questions to both of you at the same time, maybe. So, Walter, you focused on the digital divide and the extent to which it's been made worse by the pandemic. And like Lucas, you had some very practical suggestions. And these were very impactful for us when we read your essays, actually. And we really liked your idea of extending the role of libraries to perform the function of digitalizing educational resources. That really leapt out as an extremely pragmatic idea. Why did you enter the competition? Are you as competitive as Lucas, or did you have other reasons?
Yeah, I do have a competitive side, but I think the main reason was that I was bored. I had nothing to do, and it was there, and I just started writing.
Okay. And Walter, how did you choose the area that you wanted to focus on?
Okay, so for this question, we have to go back to the keyword that I've highlighted from the topic, which is the opportunity gap that has been widened. So I identified the opportunity gap as something as widening due to the reason of the digital divide, because as of now a lot of children are attending online classes and they don't have devices or Wi-Fi to attend classes. So for that reason, I felt that the digital divide was hands down the main reason why the opportunity gap is widening, because people have a learning loss in this period of time where they are out of the classroom and they have less accessibility to resources for education.
Okay, understood. And you had quite a catchy essay title. It was COVID-19 and the existing digital divide, education's kryptonite. So that had a degree of flair. Why the Superman metaphor?
It just it's because like the digital divide has always been there, and it's only surfaced now as a major issue. So it's something that like a lot of people, a lot of governments didn't take a lot of attention towards, but right now it's very apparent that it's a major issue, and I call it the kryptonite because, well, it's the one weakness that most countries face.
I see. Yeah, no, I guess it's true. It was certainly striking. Made your essay a little bit more colourful. Lucas, back to you. How did you choose your area of focus? Because it's a very broad essay topic. So how did you narrow it down?
So I guess I want it to be a little bit different, right, in order to stand out. And so that led me to think about the underlying factors of the opportunity gap itself, and not just in respect to COVID-19, but also the wider picture of, the existing opportunity gap and also how COVID-19 impacted that. So, I first went to think about what do underprivileged children and students not have that I have. So, I have two amazing parents, and I'd say I'm a very privileged person. But what about the children who aren't as lucky as me to have two parents at home to look after me and to care for me? So then I realized that not only do single parents in normal times have to work and don't have that time to look after their children, teach them how to do their homework or soft skills like manners, speaking skills. But now because of COVID-19, because jobs are, harder to come by, money's harder to come by, in order to put food on their table, these single parents have to work even longer hours or, two jobs. And so not only do these children with single parents, not only are they impacted on normal times, but because of COVID-19, this opportunity gap in that respect has widened. And so, yeah, and I also related this to, my capitalist ideals of how, we should use nudge theory a lot more in our economy. So especially in respect to welfare, I think it should be restructured to incentivize people to work in the economy, but also to ensure that they have the time and ability to bring up their children as best as they can.
Right, and you took your essay in an interesting direction because you tied this problem to mitigating solutions. Again, extremely pragmatic. So one set of mitigating solutions was around, if I remember correctly, making it easier for single parent families to work and to ensure that they had time to spend with their children. And you had a whole set of, like a shopping list of detailed policies that you thought of. And then the other area was legal representation. Tell us a bit more. How did you think of that legal connection?
Yeah. So again, I would say this is a very big issue in our judicial systems on normal times, right? For people who can't afford defense when they get in trouble with the judiciary, they have to have public defenders, and these public defenders, by virtue of them being not as shiny jobs as you would be if you were a corporate lawyer, they don't have enough people working in those positions. So these public defenders are overworked and end up doing rush jobs just to get paid and just to get another client on the docket. So I think because the effect of single parenting on children has shown to lead to increased tendency towards crime and increased tendency to drop out of school, it so happens that these children then end up getting in trouble with the law. And in order to mitigate this problem firsthand is to make sure they get better legal representation, because we see so many instances where these children, or not even just children, ordinary adults are wrongly accused of crimes they did not commit, or get longer sentences than they actually should have. So I think this mitigation was a logical link on from my first idea.
Yeah, well, we certainly thought it linked very well and it worked very well. Now, one of the things that we think may be daunting for people thinking of doing the competition is if they've not done a big research project before. Both of you had quite extensive references in your essays. How did you actually go about the research? We'll stick with you for a moment, Lucas. Yeah, because there's so much to look at out there. How did you find relevant resources and how did you narrow it down?
I think definitely a very important thing that I did was starting early. Right after I finished my AS examinations, I straight away went on to start looking. I see Walter smiling because he started relatively late compared to me, but I started early, and I find that researching a topic widely is a good way to start. And then once you find something that you're interested in, you start to narrow it down and really find the nuance that you actually want to explore and write about in the essay. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know a lot of students find it very hard to start things early and to anticipate these things. Walter's nodding again. Lucas, what's your trick? How is it that you're able to think ahead and schedule like this? Do you have any kind of little brain hacks or ways that you imagine what's going to happen, or planning tools or anything like that?
Again, I have to give this credit to the fact that I have two amazing parents that taught me the ability to have foresight, plan things ahead. But also, I think doing A levels has taught me that you can't just have rush jobs at the end. You can't cram everything towards the end. I mean, not only because it stresses you out, but at the same time you'll do better and you feel better about the things that you do if you start early and go through it without being stressed or panicked. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, Walter, Lucas is giving us the impression that you're in a different category here and that you're more in the leave things to the last minute and cram the night before the test. Is that right? Or how do you approach planning these things?
Well, I did mention that this competition was more of a leisure writing for me. So I sort of did it literally for fun. So yeah, I left it to the last week, and I actually came up with the idea at a random time, and I just thought, yeah, okay, why not? Let's give it a try. And unlike Lucas, who looks for the nuances, I sort of compartmentalize my ideas in my mind for a long time, and then I go through the ideas I have, and then, for the longest period of time, I didn't start writing because I knew there was a missing piece, which was the solution. And when I stumbled upon it, then I realized, okay, now I have the missing piece and I can start to write. And the rest was relatively easy because I've already been thinking about them for quite a bit. And so I just put it to paper. Yep.
Okay, and you had this very interesting idea about libraries. Was that something you read, or did it occur to you in a eureka moment? Where did that come from?
I think it's a eureka moment because I remember back when I was doing my SPM, so it's a Malaysian exam, and I used to study a lot at the library, and it wasn't just me. We don't, like, conventional beliefs would bring you to say that libraries are a place where geeks go and there's not a lot of people. But in actuality, there's actually a lot of us in the library, and yeah, I see a lot of people nearing the exam stage. They will start to cram in the library, and so because I am exposed to these public libraries, and I know of their resources, I know what they lack, and so I find that there's a lot. They do offer you, like, they do rent out like 2 computers, and like they offer Wi-Fi service, but this is the digital era, and I believe that there's a lot more improvement that we can do, and the public libraries could be converted into a dual sort of function library where they play the roles of traditional libraries and also digital libraries, so that people can have easier access to information and resources.
Yeah, well, we really liked the idea. We thought it was very striking. How did you go about research then? So you're doing all this in 1 week. What's your approach to research?
Well, because I had a purpose in what I was trying to bring to life. So I needed to go through as many resources that support the idea. And of course, I've came across many that would oppose it. So I would leave it at the limitations of my essay, and I would acknowledge the limitations, because that's what makes you stronger. Because if you can show what your strong points are and acknowledge your weaker points, and still somehow prove that because the strong points are good enough to trade off the poorer points of the policy, then you have an effective policy.
Right. Did you feel when you researched that you had to look for very academic articles, or did you feel that you could look more broadly at newspaper articles or online blogs or other kind of posts?
I personally went for academic articles, because I like to go through academic writings and go through their statistics and see how, and try and derive their statistics and data, and see if it matters, and see if it makes an impact. Yeah.
Fair enough. Lucas, what about you? In your research, did you stick to the academic articles, or did you go more broadly?
I did go a bit more broadly. I felt that the academic articles were far too wordy and far too complex for me to get any concrete idea out of them. So I just search opportunity gap COVID-19, and they have all these well, not necessarily just normal news, but not really journal articles, like magazine articles written by people interested in that field that would expand on a certain area. That's interesting. So I think other people out there who are thinking of joining something like this, it's not all about looking through 50-page, 100-page long documents with references and abstracts and methods and all these weird statistic notations. But it's just very simple to go through the internet, look at easy to read articles online.
I'm glad you said that, and I would reinforce that point if people are thinking of doing it who are watching this in the future. We certainly thought that a broad range of inputs on research was absolutely fine. It doesn't have to be heavy academic articles, although having a few of them was great, and you both did. I think one last question for now, but I want to return to this Netflix idea, because I know this is a big issue for lots of students who have a big task like an essay to do, and not just students, but all of us. We're so distracted nowadays. There's so much to distract us with our phones and on Netflix and all this kind of thing. Walter, for you first, how have you balanced this out? I've already pigeonholing you as an internet junkie who's on Netflix all the time. So how do you stop yourself getting distracted and do your schoolwork when you need to?
Well, I think it goes back to purpose, and there's a lot of things that you're gonna try to do, and you need to insert the amount of purpose into it. So for me, if I know what my purpose is at doing something, I'll go and get it, and I'll get it done, because that's just the way I am. And
you told us your purpose was you were bored and doing something to do. So why didn't you just watch more Netflix? Why didn't you rewatch Studio Ghibli, the complete set?
Well, I guess the answer is that I've been bored with Netflix for a while. So then I wanted maybe this is the distraction from Netflix.
I see. Okay, good to know that this could be a distraction from Netflix. Wow. Now, Lucas, sounds like you're far more disciplined and regimented. So I guess you never watch Netflix or play computer.
No, that would be a lie. I too get often just distracted by Netflix and computer games. But I think a more practical way about going about it would be to have goals, right? Say you want to read through these few articles or plan out that paragraph or write 2 paragraphs. And I think once you're able to set goals for yourself and set targets to work towards, it's much easier to stay on track and stay focused towards something, and it's less likely for you to get sidetracked, especially on something like this, right? I mean, we finish our homework. Most students finish their homework because they have to hand it in to the teacher And so I think if you make that sort of implicit deadline within yourself, it's much easier to stay on track and actually get something done as compared to if you were going to say, okay, I've got an essay to do. It's due 2 months from now. And then you end up 2 weeks before, oh shit, I've got this essay coming up. I've not done it because I've been watching Netflix. But yeah, I think having goals, having targets is a very good thing to do.
But that's easier said than done. So I think ultimately you have to enjoy the process. If you don't enjoy it, then you wouldn't get it done. It goes back to goals and purpose. So
Yeah.
if you have a purpose in mind, then do it.
Yeah, do something you're passionate in.
Okay, all very, very wise words from both of you. Thank you very much. I'm sure it'll be very enriching for other people to listen to your advice. So thanks. Look, we've done a little bit of a deep dive into humanities. We're going to move on now. We're going to hand over to Yen and the STEM team, but Lucas and Walter will be back at the end. We'll have a little sort of group chat all together. So over to Yen.
We can't hear you, Yen.
Oh, so sorry. I muted myself and I forgot. No, I was going to say thank you, Patrick. Thank you. It was very interesting listening to the chat with Walter and Lucas, right? And I'm sure both of you are raring to go to tell your bit as well. But before that, I'm sorry, I just do have to take a brief moment to introduce our audience, or rather just brief them about what was going on, right, in the STEM segment. So we had slightly more entries this year compared to the humanities segment. Very much focused on academic research compared to last year when we were more open. So we had different methods of submission, including videos. But this year, so we had 21 entries. And your entry, guys, was the top. Well, it was actually a joint first. We awarded a joint first to you two, and to Chu Han Cheng, who unfortunately could not be with us today. But yeah, two of you, both of your essays took top place. And the topic that we had that you answered was what opportunities for post-COVID recovery and improved everyday life are created by technology. And just so to let the audience know, it was very, very broad. I mean, the submissions could cover any topic, rather really ranging from AI to biomedical sciences to medicine, engineering, software, and what have you. So this far, it's a really great achievement because all the essays submitted were very high standard. Yeah, all the judges agreed that they've seen similar, even less essays of less quality even submitted for Oxbridge admissions. So the standard's really high. But I think what the judges said, or what made yours stand out, was the sort of way that you really wrote it, that you presented it in a very holistic manner, very systematic. You had a good approach to outlining the problem and then also the solution. And we liked the way that you went in depth, because a lot of the essays, whilst they were very well researched, they were more superficial. So they were a high level analysis of the problem rather than presenting the solution. So we liked that you actually went in depth into the solution. Okay, so I think I had. Oh, for that, I'm so sorry. Can you guys introduce yourself? Shall we start with you, Wei Chen?
Hi, you can call me Wei Chen. I'm actually currently studying in A levels at Sunway College. I guess, I'm currently learning. Lucius and I are actually in the same class, so we're learning further maths, physics, and chemistry. So I would say my hobbies, I guess, outside of school, if it weren't for the lockdown and restrictions, I would love to go for sports like running and badminton with friends. However, we must adapt, and I have picked up a new hobby. I guess not new, lah. It's of playing games and sitting on the couch and watching dramas and movies. I believe, and I'm sure many of us can relate to.
Yes, yes. Much like Walter.
Right. Hi,
Hi,
I'm
Lucius.
Lucius.
Yes.
Yeah, so just like what Wei Chen said, while he likes jogging, badminton, but I'm more towards a introvert guy. I like to read books, right?
Mm.
Surprisingly, nowadays who read books, but I do read it. I love to read math books, and I spend most of my time watching YouTube videos as I'm free.
Do
And
you?
most of my YouTube videos are related to stuff like engineering, sometimes mathematics, and some entertainment as well. So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
that's most of the stuff that I would do.
That's quite interesting. I've never actually met a teenager who reads mathematics books for fun, or watches YouTube videos on engineering for fun. Okay, well, maybe YouTube is more entertaining, but math books, really have to commend you on that. Okay, so you guys are classmates. To this competition together, right? It's a joint effort. How did that come about?
I actually received an email from Maybax about this competition, and I was very interested. And at first, I was planning to just do it by myself because I want to do something about mathematical modeling. But the problem
Ah,
is I can't come up with any suitable idea, and it's kind of frustrating because I have no idea in my mind. So 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 thinking about that, I think like, oh, wouldn't it be great if I have another partner so that we can split all of these tasks to two,
hmm.
right? So that's why I I PM Wei Chen, and I knew he will be very interested too. So that's why I chose him. Yeah,
Do you guys hang out at school together a lot?
Oh yes,
yeah,
study
yeah.
buddies.
Study buddy.
So Wei Chen, how did you feel, or what did you think when Lucius approached you to enter the competition?
So I was like, interesting. I've never written an academic essay before. So the idea that me joining this competition was like, I thought that it could give me some experience in like writing academic essays, especially when in universities where you have to write research papers and stuff. This skill comes in handy for the future. So that's
Hmm.
why I decided to join as well.
Hmm. Well, it was a punt that paid off very well. So the topic of your essay was what was it? A prospective way of COVID-19 detection through breath analysis. Yeah, it's quite eye-catching. I think a lot of us were, very intrigued by the topic. So how did you just would like to
Oh,
brief us, like tell us how you came up to that topic.
we actually, yeah, we actually listed because at first we are also not too sure what topics we want to do,
Mm,
and what we did is we split and we try to find as many as possible, all the possible topics like AI, maybe things in electronics, carbon
mhm,
nanotubes, and all of these things, and we combine them in a list.
mm,
And after a week or so, we meet up and we started to cross out all the things that we don't have enough knowledge. For example, let's say, for example, AI. We both of
mhm,
us, because it's kind of like a trending thing. So I guess that's why we put that in the first place. But then we
mhm,
don't study computer science or anything related to programming. That's why we cross out that.
mm,
And what make it to the last one is just the COVID detection. So both of us feel like it is possible for us to start from there, and to further research more and see where it will lead us. I guess that's our mindset at that point.
So you narrowed down on COVID-19 detection
Yes,
solutions.
because yeah,
Okay. And Wei Chen, how long did you spend researching that? I mean, can you walk through your methodology of how you came up with all these topics? I mean, it's a wide range since you covered all the topics.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
at first we were like, because the Oxbridge scope, the topic that they gave was actually quite broad. So we were actually wondering like, what are they asking us to write about? You know, there's just so many things that it can cover. So like what Lucius said, we landed on COVID-19 detection, and we found that it was the most suitable and most relatable, relatable innovation that could help us in the future. Of course, this process of finding the idea actually took about 2 to 3 weeks of us discussing and like going back and forth on what topics we actually wanted. And then, so how did we land on breath analysis specifically? Was we actually just researched. We just typed in Google, what ways can we detect COVID-19? And of course, there's the usual methods like the PCR test and the antigen test, like we always heard about. But then we wanted to find something less biological, because we don't learn biology in class, so we can't relate to that. And then we went through like sweat, and even using a dog, to smell the the COVID in you. But and then we found that breath analysis was one of the close to home to what we learn in class. So, and also it can aid in the recovery of the post-COVID era, which was actually the STEM topic given by Oxbridge. So, of course, we try to emphasize on the field that we are familiar with, and of course, we apply the concepts that we learn in class as well.
Can you explain a bit more on that concepts learned in class and what drew you to that? Because you keep mentioning, going into a topic that you have familiarity with.
So I guess in a way is that because the breathalyzer actually consists of few parts, like we're going to talk about the physics and chemistry side, and also the circuitry and the design in our paper. So I guess in our paper, our physics and chemistry side, we actually use sensors that detect VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, which are excreted through our breath. So apparently, some studies show that in our COVID patients, there are certain VOCs that are not present or are in elevated levels. So from there, we just used the suitable sensor, which was a metal oxide semiconductor, which not necessarily learned in class, but it's something that we explore during our processing this competition.
Yeah, I really wanted to know some of the diagrams that you drew up in your essays. Are they original or were they referenced? Lucius, perhaps?
Most of them are actually referenced, except for the circuit diagram. Right, I actually spent quite a lot of time studying a lot deeper in circuits and trying to come up with a diagram of my own. So yeah, we actually spend a lot of time on that. But besides that, the mechanism of how the sensor works, we actually reference from the paper we found, and we think that's actually very clear. So that's why we reference it. Yeah.
Now that is really awesome. Actually, that's why we thought that was. Based on what you looked at, was this solution already doable, implementable? Any of you can answer that.
I would say from our paper, obviously we're not we don't have the level of knowledge for us to confirm whether this thing is actually workable. But certainly, we have especially during our process in this essay writing, we actually came across this idea, breathalyzer, in many, a few countries, actually a few countries has already pioneered it. But their research papers, obviously they do not want people stealing their ideas, right? So they don't really come up with much detail in how they detect the things. So we just thought, I think, oh, this might work, we're detecting VOCs, so using this sensor and stuff like that. So I would say, yes, this breathalyzer could be implemented in the near future. It's quick, easy, and most likely, I'm pretty sure a few countries has already used it in their daily lives.
Yeah. Okay. Well, perhaps we'll read more about it later. If it becomes more widely used. But tell me, Lucius, what do you find the most difficult about this process? I'll ask both of you this actually. So Lucius, you can go first. When you were writing this essay, what was the most difficult part to you?
Yeah.
No, which bit do you find the most difficult, maybe, or the most challenging? Oh, I think.
For me, I think it would be the part where we need to choose our topics, because there's a lot of topics that we can choose, and narrowing it down and actually determining which topics that we want is, I think that's the hardest. The second hardest will be actually reading through the papers and finding out the core concept that we want to use. Just for example, in our case, our core concept will be the chemical sensor that we want to use, and really understand that to a point where we can explain it. I think that's the second hardest one. And maybe another one would be structuring the essay so that it really kind of flows. Like, we started with introduction, problem, solution, and while we are tackling the problem, we also included reasonings, so to just bring out our idea, like what we are thinking at that point of the moment, and we reason it out, and that's how we try to. Right, back to you.
A bit. Okay. That sounds like you just went through a crash course of Management Consulting 101. That's pretty much what you do as a consultant. So well done. And quickly, Wei Chen, so what about you? What do you find the most difficult about this process?
I think I would agree with Lucius. Finding one of the topics was actually one of the most difficult parts, because, yeah, like I said, the scope was super broad. So to actually find something that we know what we can write with is quite challenging. And then adding on to what Lucius said, like the structuring of the essay. We had to go through plenty of guides, because I believe both of us have had no experience writing out an academic essay before. So we had to go through like search through the internet for guides, like, okay, what must we put in each section, or in the discussion, what do they emphasize and stuff like that. And yeah, I guess that is the most difficult part of the one of the few challenges in doing this essay.
Well, I think you've both learned very good life skills, right? Of you going through that whole process. In the first part of selecting the topic and picking it, and actually feeling good with it and being confident enough to just go for it all the way. So congratulations again. I think it's now about 10 to 9, I think. Shall we bring the rest back in?
So we're going to have a bit of a group chat now, Yen.
Yes, we shall.
Do you want to start off the questions?
Yeah, no, okay, sorry, thank you. Okay, so what's your plans? After having been through this, and maybe you found. I mean, what are your plans, each of you, for the future? Has this impacted your plans, or given you some thoughts, food for thought? Perhaps Lucas.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't say it's changed what I want to do. I've always been pretty focused on doing law at university. So yeah, but I think it's definitely made me think about venturing into criminal law a little bit more than I would have thought about before. So yeah, I think that's just one thing it's helped me think about for the future. Yeah.
Criminal law.
Have you read The Secret Barrister yet, Lucas?
Sorry, what did you say?
I said, have you read The Secret Barrister yet? It's a classic.
I have not.
If you're doing criminal law, that's a must read.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Yen, carry on.
How about you? Sorry, Walter?
Yeah. No, I don't think it changed my plans. I'm still going to do economics. And even though I think this piece is more of a piece on education, I think economics is a nice degree that connects everything together. So, it does make me think more about people, like the welfare of people. Whereas back then I always take the narrative of like firms and SMEs. So they were always my focus, but now I've expanded my interests a bit further to like the welfare of people.
Yeah, that's a noble pursuit to have. And Wei Chen?
I would say that this competition wouldn't really change what I wanted to study in the future, but more or less, I guess this competition gave me an insight on what people do in let's say the field I'm interested in, which is engineering. So I would like to further my studies in engineering and have some interest in robotics, AI, and stuff like that. So coming back to the competition, I guess it just gave me a nice experience, as well as taught me a valuable skill.
Great. And finally, Lucius?
Yeah. So throughout this experience, this whole idea of writing the essay, I actually get to experience what a researcher might do, because I wanted to further my studies in mathematics, and hopefully I can do my master and PhD. But that's too long. But one of my ambition is to actually get involved in research work and so on, and why not? Yeah.
Great.
So
Yeah.
this competition definitely gives me a great insight. So at least now I know what is it like to research on certain topic and actually understand it by ourselves. Yeah. Back to you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's good to know. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that, Patrick?
To add to that question, particularly,
or to comment on? I guess.
I'm very impressed. I'm actually super impressed with Wei Chen and Lucius's technique of narrowing down. I was thinking, if I made a great long list of topics to write about, and then I crossed out the ones that I felt I didn't know enough about, I think I would just cross all the way through. So I'm really impressed that it worked. I'll try it again.
Yeah.
But can I just reinforce, link to that? I didn't say it to Lucas and Walter earlier, but I think a common theme for all the winners tonight is you were focused. And this was different from most other essays. Most were very broad sweep. So we had the same thing on the humanities side, Yen. So it was really noticeable when someone did a kind of deep dive. So I think it works very well when someone narrows the topic themselves. Maybe this is something we can do next year when we set up the guidelines for the competition. Maybe we can do something to help people actually take a narrower focus, because I think it worked for all the for all the winners.
Yes. But the process itself was, very good, valuable for them, right? As they mentioned, they had to go through all that and to learn to pick the right one. I mean, they could have picked the wrong one. But for the STEM part, I mean, what really stood out was when the winners, they actually spent time coming up with, to improve or add on to the solutions that they presented.
Yes. So we've had a question I see come in from one of the watchers, from Jolene, which looks interesting. Jolene asks, do you see yourself working on your solutions in the future? Which I suppose could apply to all of you, actually. But should we direct that first at Wei Chen and Lucius?
So I would say the future is now. Because it's already in progress, but I'm sure these kinds of concepts, these kinds of innovations, it won't stop. So yes, I'll probably work on other solutions in the future.
Fantastic.
Which are related to STEM.
What about Lucius?
Right. So, if I were to give an honest answer, I would say probably no, because what I see from like this competition, it's a way that we can suggest something, and the suggestion itself, the idea itself, we can use it. That for our case, it's the sensor itself. We do not need to use that sensor to create like a breathalyzer that we use it to detect COVID. We might not need to do that, but the sensor itself can be used in something else, because this sensor is actually from a paper that's quite recent, right? It's from like 2020, and I believe there are people outside that will use this kind of sensor, but definitely I don't think I will get involved in working out my solution. Yeah.
Fair enough. What about you, Lucas?
Unsure yet. I think it would depend if I do end up getting into something like politics. But I think I would definitely work towards playing my part in the justice system and just doing what I can.
Okay, fair enough. Walter, are you going to go into library revamping in the future?
It's unlikely. I'm probably going to be sitting at a desk doing monetary policy. So, it's unlikely. But yeah, if I get into politics, or if I'm somehow thrown into one of the ministries, then I don't see why not. I would like to have some changes around here, and there's some things that are very traditional and inefficient in its own way, and we need to change that.
Well,
excellent.
You could channel some CSR funds to outfit some libraries while you're sitting at your desk managing monetary policy.
So Emma, we haven't quite got around to, I see we're coming close to the end of our time. We haven't quite got around to the question we were hoping to ask about getting the winners' advice about how we might encourage more participation from public schools in the future. But Emma, maybe you were going to ask that.
No, you guys go ahead. You ask the last question.
Go, Patrick, go.
Sure. Well, Wei Chen, how about you? So Emma said at the start, we'd love to expand it to public schools. Do you have any ideas about how we could make it more accessible? Perhaps Lucius's idea of having a narrower set of choices, would that make it easier, less daunting perhaps? But Wei Chen, any suggestions from you?
For one, I would think that this interview and people watching it, future applicants watching it, might actually it might help them, for encourage them to join this. Otherwise, I would say the best way forward to advertise these competitions and stuff is through social media, just more advertising, more influence on social media. And I'm sure one fine day some student from 5 or A levels will come across and be like, I'm interested, So yeah.
Great. Lucius, do you have any other suggestions?
Yeah, this competition actually reminds me of another competition about entrepreneur, and just what they did is actually they have sort of like a workshop prior to the competition itself. So I actually participated in the workshop, and right after the workshop, they give us a task, and the task will be the competition task, and we will compete after that. So I think that's a good idea, or giving a workshop first, then bringing the student together and we let them compete. That's what they did, and yep, that's all from me.
Thank you. No, we'll log that idea for sure. Yep.
Great
very
idea.
good.
Yes.
Yeah, Lucas, how about you? Any
Um,
suggestion?
I'm not actually from a government school originally, but what I feel is that for people out there watching this, or in general, or I mean, in the way this Oxbridge Society promotes the competition, I think the most valuable thing, the most helpful thing would be to approach this not from how you approach a normal competition, not trying to win the first prize, get the money, get the certificate, but more to practice a skill on your own, and learn something new or something interesting that you wouldn't have time outside of school to learn. I think I would say that people in government schools are sort of wrongly taught that everything is a competition. You got to get that A star, but I think that at the end of the day, the experience is more worthwhile than the money prize at the end, or your name on your cert. I think what you take away from for me, learning about the actual stats and the real world problems is far more valuable than whatever I could have won from this competition.
Oh, that's interesting feedback. Thank you, Lucas.
That's great
Walter?
advice. Thank you.
Yeah, I second what Lucas said. I came from the background that everything was very competitive, and I understand the sentiment that like you want to win and you want to be the best, but ultimately in the world, in life, there's no the best. There's you, and you trying to improve yourself. So on top of what Lucas said, I think that my only advice is just believe, because I feel that a lot of people from government schools are very self-degrading, because in general we always think that we're not good enough, and it's a waves and waves of insecurity. So I think one of the things we need to acknowledge is we are just here to try our best, and when we do give our best, that's all we want from ourselves. See, I came from like a science stream student. I didn't do academic writing. I saw writing as a side hustle back then. It was just a hobby. It was always been a hobby. So I carried that forward, and it's still just my interest. And I don't force anything upon myself. It's like, oh, I need to win. It was all just fun and games for me. So ultimately, it's just have fun.
Great advice. Well, I'll hand over to you in just a minute before we hand over to Emma, but just from me, thank you so much, everybody, for all the wisdom and perspectives that you've shared tonight. The perspectives from where you are extremely enriching for the rest of us, and I greatly appreciate what you said today. Thank you very much. Yen, any last comments from you?
Yes, I mean, I also thank you, all of you, for being on here and hopefully inspiring others, to do the same. Because I fully agree what you said about the process is more enriching, or the experience is definitely much more rewarding than the prize itself. So thank you for saying that, and thank you for sharing your experience. And I do hope that those watching will not feel daunted by the word Oxbridge academic exploration.
Yeah. Yep, I echo. Thank you for coming on and sharing your experiences. I mean, when you read these essays, where we've got them on our website, they are incredibly impressive. I mean, to read them and to realize that you guys are actually still doing your A levels, you sometimes have to kind of pinch yourself and think, oh yeah, actually they're just A level students is amazing. And actually listening to you talking about them as well was just as impressive as actually reading your ideas and your research on paper. So really hats off to you guys for doing this, and thank you for coming and trying to encourage more people to do this, and just kind of breaking down the process so that it's not so daunting. And yeah, maybe we should have a workshop before we do the next one next year. Thank you to Patrick and Yen for hosting this evening and for asking all the questions. And yeah, my final takeaway really is that it's interesting that you guys are friends. So this pair of friends and this pair of friends. So, you know, and actually the three of us are all friends as well. So I think there's something about surrounding yourself with, you know, bright, enthusiastic people just kind of feeds off itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you should surround yourself with interesting people, I think is the takeaway for me from this evening. All right, thank you guys, thank you everybody for watching. Take care and stay safe. Bye guys.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Good
Thank you,
night.
everybody.
Bye.